dominated the headlines. And I think, you know, anybody reading this story has gone through the emotions with this, and I think there's a lot more behind it than I think people initially realised at the beginning. So it's caused a big divide in the sporting world, and now the International Olympic Committee has defended its decision to allow 2 boxers to compete in Paris, who had previously been disqualified from the World Championships for failing to meet gender eligibility requirements. Now, this is the story of Algeria's Imaine Khalif. There is a lot more... This is not a trans issue, just to confirm that. This is not a trans issue. This is not a trans woman. No. Tom, can you tell us all the facts behind it? Because there is a little bit more to it than that in there.
Well, as you say, and the point at which to start is what this isn't, and you're absolutely right, this is not an issue of trans. What this is actually doing is trying to define whether someone is male or female enough, in this case, to participate in women's boxing at the Olympics. And where the International Olympic Committee have got to is to say that this Algerian boxer, they believe is woman enough in order to be able to compete. That's controversial because a different boxing association had said prior to the Olympics, we don't think this person is female enough in order to compete, and so that they would be banned from doing so. And it's based on a diagnosis of her biology, and one of the things they found is that this person has been born with XY male chromosomes, so they are biologically, in that sense, biologically male.
And she took on Angela Carini, who had to withdraw within 47 seconds of the match because she couldn't handle the punches.
Absolutely. So you have, in one hand, a person with biologically male characteristics, XY chromosomes, competing in a female-only sporting event where the other participants do not have XY male chromosomes.
Dads, with these stories, everyone starts shouting immediately. Yeah. So we're not going to do that. We're going to calmly pick our way through this. And I guess the controversy here is the fact that in the World Championships, that is controlled by the IBA, or was controlled by the IBA, a different organisation, and they found that they weren't suitable to partake in the World Championships. The IOC doesn't recognise the IBA anymore. There's a fallout there. They say it's OK, and maybe that's where lies the confusion, do you think?
Everybody seems to be a victim in this case. Clearly, the Italian boxer is a victim, literally a victim, but the Algerian boxer, who, as I understand it, born and brought up female, but when the tests were done, was found to be, in some tests, to have biological characteristics of a male, which would make her ineligible, you would have thought, for an equal fight with a female. Yeah. That seems to be the dilemma. But she legitimately has lived her life as a woman, a successful boxer, because partly, maybe, of these male characteristics. And so the dilemma is the organisation bringing the fight about should have said beforehand, we need a level playing field. Yes. And sadly, somebody who may be female but has sufficient male characteristics should not be in the ring with somebody who is wholly female.
And just to give Tom, I think you're bang on. And just so people at home know the differences, there was a report written by the Journal of Experimental Biology, which said a male punch is 2.6 times stronger, harder than a female punch. Yeah. So there is a significant difference in power here, no doubt about it.
If you've gone through male puberty, on average, the elite level of sport in particular, you will be on average faster, stronger than a female competitor. That's why we distinguish between male and female sport. So the real...
There's no suggestion here she went through male puberty, just that she has these chromosomes, right?
Yes, but that might have instructed a male-style of puberty through which athletic advantage could be gained. The point is, at some point, someone's going to have to make a decision about whether this person is female enough to compete. And I would have thought that an organisation like the Olympic Committee would want to urge very much on the side of caution, particularly in boxing, and say, well, because of these reasons, because of the male chromosomes that are present, because of the increased testosterone levels that accompany XY chromosomes, we're going to say no, because a male punch is 2 times harder than a female punch on average. And if you put a man into a ring against a woman in a fight at the elite level, it could be incredibly dangerous.
Over the internet, it said, oh, failed the gender test. So what is that? What is the gender test? Is that to check the testosterone, or...?
It can be a multitude of things, but what we don't know is the specific test that the other boxing organisation has done in order to come to its conclusion that they would ban this person from boxing in that competition. They're not saying exactly what they did. What they're saying is, we came to the conclusion that there were XY male chromosomes present.
But that wasn't a testosterone test.
But not a testosterone test. And in part, one can understand why, because women will have different levels of testosterone in their bodies anyway. So there might be a woman with heightened levels of testosterone. That doesn't make you a man. There are different biological characteristics that would make you a man besides testosterone.
So does this Algerian woman stay in the competition, having won the first round? She does, so the controversy will go on.
And the next bout is we'll put her, if she wins, she's in a medal position then. And also we have a Taiwanese boxer, Lin Yong-ting, fighting today. Similar situation, wasn't allowed to compete in the World Championships for a similar scenario, is allowed to compete in the Olympics. So it's an unbelievable mess, really, Giles, isn't it?
There isn't a level playing field and there isn't a set agreement on the rules.
No.
So it is just a mess. Does this apply to many people in the world? This is the most unusual phenomenon.
There are people who have differences in sex development, DSD. There are people who are born intersex. It is not a separate on the spectrum of male or female. Where do you sit? You can be born intersex. And it's very, very difficult. And that's why I think one has sympathy for the Algerian boxer, because your medical history and detail is now broadcast all over the world, and it's probably pretty tricky.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a level playing field, you know, from the test, but we have got a right of reply from the IOC. Now, all athletes participating in the boxing tournament of the Olympic Games Paris 2024 comply with the competition's eligibility and entry regulations, as well as all applicable medical regulations set by the Paris 2024 Boxing Uni. There's another right of reply here. In regards to Imane Khalif, having been previously disqualified from the IBA World Championships in 2023, the IOC said the IBA recognition was withdrawn by the IOC in 2023 following its suspension in 2019. The withdrawal of recognition was confirmed by the Court of Arbitration for Sport, so the CAS. So is...
We had this with Caster Semenya, didn't we, on the track a couple of years ago, and they still haven't found a solution to this.
I think boxing in particular, you have to be unbelievably careful about who you're putting up to fight one another. And it just does seem, and there are plenty of female boxers, British female boxers, I see Nicola Adams has said this morning, that this cannot be allowed to continue. If the rules that the Olympic Association are going by is what is on your passport, well, there are laws in this country that mean that people can change what's on their passport based on having a gender recognition certificate. That's
I think it'll only change when somebody seriously gets damaged or hurt or killed.
That cannot happen. That cannot be allowed to happen. So if I were... I mean, this shouldn't have been allowed to happen in the first place.
But you box within a weight category. You have a weigh-in before your fight, so you have to be at a certain weight to fight in that weight category.
Yeah.
But that's a different distinction. That's
so weight and power are different things.
Weight is a different way of distinguishing between different people, much like height and smoke levels. But biological sex is clearly another one that needs... But it seems to be very difficult to answer the question, as the IOC have a different answer to the IBA, of to what extent is someone a woman or a man?
It evokes so much emotion, and we tackle these subjects, and we can only do them briefly. But you're kind of fearful because, you know, people are very emotional on either sides of the argument.
Well, all they need to do is stick to the facts. Yeah. That's what people in these debates need to do, is just stick to what we know.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.